It's Ibanez here for another Speak Softly clan video. The clan has been quiet but plugging along in Warframe, participating in events such as Operation Hostile Mergers. Anyway, this video is meant to give opinions on Digital Extreme's showing at their 4th convention, Tennocon 2019, though expect more videos soon. First off, I will mention that we did not have any members attend in person, considering most of the group is located outside of Canada, let alone Ontario. Though it has been discussed that Clan and Alliance members meet up at the convention perhaps next year. In the meantime, a few of us at least caught the main showing and some of the panels earlier in the day. The panels featuring Digital Extreme staff working on their aspect of the game were quite insightful and enjoyable, considering the work shown and the personalities and stories told of what is taking to get their work done. Even the voice actors expressed their passion for the project. The low point for the panels were the partners. When there weren't awkward moments, there were advertisements for themselves and not much help for the people new to the game. While there are partners that not only analyze and help those who are still trying to finish or have just finished the first quest, there wasn't much of that if at all. All things considered, I have recruited many in our clan to help them through all aspects of the game, but I think it is time to help more in the near future. Let's move on to the main show. The first thing to critique is that there were only 2 pieces of information that were unveiled during the presentation, with one of those being leaked out to the internet well before the show. That's not to say that the show is bad, but now it can be stated that last year's show followed the current trend of other developers and publishers showing products publicly before they should have. So the first thing presented was a new cinematic trailer for the introduction to new players. Now, there is nothing wrong in improving the early stages of the game for new players, but there is a problem in the trailer showing the 3 starters performing powers that the Warframes don't actually perform. I will take exception to that problem if the team is planning on overhauling them, but in the meantime, it shows the director of quite a few movies and TV shows has a lack of understanding of the game. I think it is also something to question on the message that the team is perhaps planning on overhauling the first quest and beyond. Considering the attention paid to the trailer, it is my hope that they refine it and make the quest replayable for those that have not played the game in a while. While Steve Sinclair has mentioned that they have given up on making the game easier for new players to get into, I think they certainly shouldn't give up on trying to get people back. Next up is a new war. From the trailer that was presented for it, it first appears that it could be a full-on invasion of the solar system, but then what was shown was action on the plains of Eidolon. Now some people are wondering if the quest just pertains to the plains, but I have seen prior developer streams and Twitter posts that have shown a Sentinel tile set that likely proved to be the contrary. If anything, it may have just been a case of mixed messaging. The space trip is just absurd. Let's just put it that way. It's a weird premise tied with a prize that may or may not actually result in a trip to space. Hopefully we will see a prize winner that can actually make the trip, as it appears it's just $250,000 that goes towards the trip. Now for the highlight of the convention, Imperium. It was unveiled last year, of course, and this time we get to see a considerable amount of information on how Railjacks can be deployed and customized. I still have a few questions on their deployment, however. First off, how will the offensive, defensive, and other tactical systems be obtained? Through blueprints via dojo research or specific missions? Considering that the presentation showed the crew picking up resources, it leads me to believe blueprints will be needed for these systems. Another question is if there will be mods for these so that weapons could be utilized for taking down shields and holes more quickly. I guess I should say shield or holes, but anyway. Improving the Railjack shields and holes, and even other functions in their power, strength, efficiency, duration, and so on. One more thing to ponder is if the owner is able to set loadouts of the Railjack and each system. They then showed NPCs that will be involved in keeping the ship in top shape. They didn't exactly show how these crewmen will be utilized, though perhaps hiring the right crewmen will result in weapons behaving in a particular manner, or more efficient systems power usage. When it comes to the ship piloting, I certainly hope that controls will be in full 3-dimensional range. One of the weaknesses of Arcwing from the get-go had been the treatment of steering, as if players can only rotate on the yaw axis, just turning left and right, and they then went back and utilized a partial fix and adding pitch rotation before finally fixing the problem in Plains of Eidolon by allowing the roll rotation. Setting pitch and roll in addition to bearing for ships would be instrumental in making the piloting enjoyable. The other aspect will be maneuverability and what it could take to avoid collisions. These are fairly big ships and all, so I would imagine that thrusters and reverse thrusters should be instrumental in control implementation. One more thing to add in the basics of the game mode is if full squads of 4 will be in play, or if it will be limited to 3. Just all things considering, both demos only had 3 people in it. Anyway, I certainly hope it isn't limited to 3, considering that would be worth having someone acting as captain on the tactical console while 4th acts as pilot or gunner. You'd have 2 people as the side gunners, and then the other 2 could either split duties as captain on tactical, the pilots, and then like a main gunner or whatever. Anyway, we did see the rail travel in practice, though I still wonder if it takes the calculation and the button press to quote-unquote make the jump. Considering the end of the railjack presentation, is it possible to be pulled out of the rail travel or have the engines fail, or perhaps some other sort of situation where it could be kind of out of control of the pilot anyway? Upon reaching the destination for the mission and sending the ground crew, it was shown that in the event that the crew needs to make a hasty retreat, that they can teleport back to the ship. They also showed a condition in which the ground crew might not be able to teleport back. In situations like this and others, apparently NPC crews will flee from battle, as from the dev stream 129. It lends further need for a squad of 4 to defend the interior and exterior of the ship. And speaking of the exterior, the first sight of the railjack was it landing in the Orb Valis during last year's conference anyway. Is it possible to land there and on other areas? Now, while the ground crew is away, what other functions can the people left on the ship assist in? Could they potentially hack life support units, or other functions that have been used before? What can be the limitations of this, as the ground crew should still be challenged, and the ship have its own tasks to perform? Alright. The Kingpin system was finally unveiled, and it shows a lot of promise in the game reading and encountering the quote-unquote ship regression. With that said, are the Corpus and other factions providing players with their own challenges? I'm mentioning this because in the dev stream 129, Grineer are apparently the only ones that will be using the system for the meantime. Anyway. So yeah, with that said, what if the Grineer agents, what if they weren't killed with abilities, as mentioned during the convention? Would they assume that they were mainly damaged with certain powers to determine their progression? Can we see confrontations with other factions and their capital ships? As for the Arcwing work that has been mentioned for the past year, will the entire game be seeing the open world implementation? I would just hope that they'd make sure that players don't leave Arcwing in the middle of swinging one of their mana weapons like heretics. Using Arcwing in the lakes and ponds would be a nice addition, though clearly not necessary. When it comes to taking on an agent's fleet with boarding parties, what are the limitations on commandeering? For example, can one hijack a ship and then ram the flagship? And speaking of flagships, How many ways can they take damage? Is it possible to board and disable shields and other functions? Can they take damage from the environment, particularly from asteroids, or void storms, or even impacts from other ships? What other environmental hazards will be implemented anyway? Can we see existing bosses make their own confrontations with railjacks? It certainly seems that some of them have their own ships, if not fleet, such as Nathaniel and Beta, and you even have to consider the Razorback and the Fomorians. So that was it for Imperium. Now for Deferi Paradox. It appears that it will be the third open environment, and it will incorporate the next important aspect of the story. And it does still remain to be seen if your operator will be really maturing or not. So that was it for the criticism and questions for the convention. It seems it was an enjoyable experience, and despite the issues I mentioned. I hope the community of non-digital extremes can respond to this video soon, and thanks for tuning in.